Michael Whitehead is the head of agribusiness insights at the ANZ. He joins us. You're in Colac, I believe, Michael.
Absolutely, Ricky. Sitting in Colac here, and as we sit coming into autumn, still good conditions out here for all the dairy, sheep and cattle people in this part of Victoria.
Certainly is, and look, whilst we've got a drier outlook, I guess, when it comes to what the Bureau of Meteorology thinks, and even ABARES seems to think that's the way it's going to go, there's plenty of cattle and sheep out there in the paddocks.
There absolutely are, and it's interesting you say a drier outlook, because in some areas it is getting dry. In others, I suppose it's getting back to average. Some of us compare what could be coming up this year to 2017, which was arguably the last time we didn't have terrific seasons as we did over the last couple of years, or the drought ones before then. So we may finally be getting back to what we'd call normal or average.
Now, when I look at the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator on the cattle front, it's like a game of limbo, isn't it? How low can it go?
Well, you could say that, but on the other hand, is it coming back to normal? Because you look at how high it went, and absolutely that was driven particularly by the restockers. And all that green grass we got over the past couple of years, everybody restocked and they had confidence as well. Now they've pulled out of the market to a degree. They've got the size of the herds they want. We are still seeing people buying, but just not paying the prices they were in the last couple of years.
Yes, no, we've talked about this being a likely correction during this year. Even last year we expected a big correction, but has it gone beyond correction to being a little bit pessimistic, or you reckon it's about where it should be?
Not pessimistic yet, no, because as I say, we're still seeing people buying out there. We are still seeing reasonable export volumes and domestic volumes. What we've got to wait and see is what happens over coming months if exports keep up. We've got to wait and see if there's any impact on consumers in Australian supermarkets from interesting economic times. So, no, certainly no grounds for panic at all right now.
And indeed, on that export front, I spoke with the head of Cattle Australia, their chair, David Foote, recently, and he was just, I guess for the listeners that aren't fully across cattle, just how export-oriented we have to be, because I think he said we produce something like 60 million head. Well, there's well in excess of the consumption habits of Australians. I think there's a 35 million domestic consumption, so there's more than half has to go overseas.
It absolutely does, and particularly we're continuing to be quite reliant on our four big markets. Japan and South Korea have always been very reliable for us. China's come and gone, but it's reasonably consistent, and it's America which is the one at the moment impacting things because they're liquidating their herd in drought. They haven't needed quite as much of our beef as they had, but we're hoping that comes good getting towards the end of this year.
Now, I heard a whisper as well that when you talk about China, they've been hot and cold, and there's diplomatic relations to be improved in that regard. But I understand because of the mad cow concerns, I'm not going to say it's loose in Brazil, that maybe China might be looking in our direction.
It's an interesting thing with the Chinese consumer. They are always very focused on food safety. Dairy's been a big thing for them, but meat very much so. That is the main reason that Australian beef had such huge volumes into China in 2015, 2016 going in then, because of their worries about South American and North American cattle diseases, mad cow disease, foot and mouth and others. And if there's a hint of that as well, they will absolutely look back to us with a much bigger focus.
Yeah, a good reminder about how important our biosecurity is. But also, before we go, let's just look at how things are travelling when it comes to the lambs. The trade lamb indicator sort of hovering fairly happily around that 700 mark over the last few months.
Well, it's interesting. We're at one of those rare times where the trade lamb indicator's gone above the Eastern Young Cattle Indicator. So that demand is staying reasonable at the moment. The sheep numbers and the sheep prices had gone down while cattle had rocketed. But you're right, it's staying consistent. Demand is consistent. Everything's looking reasonably good there at the moment.
Yep, good news and a good note to finish on. Enjoy your time down the south coast of Victoria, Michael Whitehead, and we'll catch you again soon.
Terrific. Thanks very much, Ricky. Cheers.